So today I want to talk about your true self, and I'm going to be a little bit more abstract than I've been in some of the more recent presentations because, well, this is abstract, and I'm going to differentiate between your higher self, which to me would be your expression without thought, and your personality. And I'm going to call your personality I, like lowercase I, and then your name. Hey Jason, how are things down under? Okay, so what I'm talking about today is the opportunity to transcend fear and pain relative to your personal narrative so that you can express fully and without thought. What would be the benefit to that? Well, I'm not fucking sure. This is still in the lab. But what I hypothesize is that it would be the same as playing basketball with your mind or playing basketball with your body. Which one is leading? If your mind is leading, you're probably not playing like a boss. If your body's leading, you see what I'm saying? And so what I want to posit today is the gap that comes to exist as a result of pain and denial of your natural expression, and then that kind of like pinches off into your personality. So what's interesting too is that it might not just be, or it could, so again, like we're in like hypothesis land. This is just what I'm fucking seeing. So your personality is basically your interface to the world, and you're saying, this is how I get love, stability, security, and stuff. And so you protect the fuck out of your personality because that's your storefront. And once you find something that works, even if it doesn't work like in the big scheme, you'll kind of like persist in it. So one of the things I see a lot with people that come across my desk are they're very empathic and intuitive people, and they have the capacity to anticipate what another person might think, want, or need. Often they do that in denial of their own expression. Why? Why would we do that? What a silly thing. Any ideas from the crowd? So basically it's like I need something from you, and so I have to compromise myself to get it. And maybe what I'm compromising is sharing my personal experience. How could we come to think that that is required for us in being? And when we look backwards, it's not wrong based on what was. And so we're gonna like let all of that be. We don't need to do like a lot of why digging or a lot of like focus there. We're just gonna like demarcation town right now and go forward and say like, is this serving you? And I'm gonna go with no, because whenever you alter your natural expression to fit what you perceive to be needed, what is matching doesn't fit who you actually are. And so there's actually loss within the system because of the waste of using your bandwidth to over anticipate, where if you believed that you were safe, you could express and just let it go. So what I'm talking about today is sort of like a hypothesis of this space between your natural expression, which means like I don't fucking think, I just am, and your personality, which is this collection of concepts about yourself that may have developed in response to pain. It's not safe for me to be this, it's not safe for me to do that, or through misplaced desire. I need to be this to get that. If I want these people to love me, if I want harmony in my life, I must present in such a fashion that they're not upset. And so I will compromise my feelings and they'll never know. And they won't be upset, and the system harmony is okay. See what I'm saying? So I think it's fucking crazy when you look at how scary it is to be in truth. And why? Why is that? It's like, okay, if I have this personal narrative, let's say it's like, right now I feel really this, or I know this about myself, but I can't tell you. What is so scary about information? When you think about, and I bet there are areas in your life where you're doing this and it's so fucking natural that you don't even notice that you have suppressed yourself to fit a situation. It's just like an alternative may not even exist. And this is an area that I'm particularly interested in right now. Live my life like an experiment. Scientist. All right. So what I'm talking about today is this concept that there is a natural expression. So basically, like, you just are, and you're not worried if it's going to be received or heard or understood or you're going to get stuff. You just, I am. And then you've got this layer of the mind that kind of filters your natural expression based on what you found in the past to be safe. I can share this information with other people. I can tell them how I feel and they can hear me. I can tell them that I'm uncomfortable with their action and they'll adjust. So there's like that level where you learn as a kid, like, no, it's not safe. Nobody cares. And so you're like, oh, okay, I'll just hold it in. And then there's another layer that's like, I know. Love and safety and stability and connection and joy and success is outside. And so I will fit what's happening so that I can get those things. So when we zoom out and we say, like, are you everything? Are you? Is it? What is it? Everything's happening inside of your head, which is the fucking craziest shit to consider. So it's like, no matter, there's all of this stuff outside, all of these outside players, but you assign meaning to them. So you could feel some type of way about this that is not related to this at all. When you strip off all the meaning of relationships, of concepts, of holidays, of blah, 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 and you just say, like, what actually is here? When I'm not thinking about what's here, you find that it's all in your head. And so it doesn't matter what's happening outside, because you're the one that's creating the narrative that assigns the meaning. And so you can have the fucking sky falling, but if your narrative is like, right on schedule, I'm expecting a rainbow, then it's like, go ahead, fall. I'm gonna wait. But if your narrative is, let's say you're like, and this is, I'm gonna use my personal life, whatever. I've been in some really exotic, incredible situations, but my internal narrative had been, I'm not, like, when will this fuck up? When will this go away? When will I lose this? This isn't right. And so these really incredible things, like, I couldn't enjoy. And so there is this acceptance that you truly are the creator of your experience. And I think that's true on multiple levels, particularly at like a quantum level, but I definitely think it's true at an interpretation level. And so, all right, so lots of new peeps here. So what I'm talking about today is this concept of your personality as an interface to the world, and how it comes up with these ideas to filter information that actually fucks with your capacity to fully express, i.e. feel like you're alive, i.e. connect intimately with others, i.e. like live your life. That's my, I'm gonna cry. That's my fucking message, yo. That's what I showed up on Earth for. So we're here to live. And I attract a bunch of people who have been through some shit. And so there is a huge opportunity to overcome this fear to live, because it sucked. And that's our opportunity, people. Hey, Sean. All right, so I'm talking about the personality as I, Shaylee. So this is basically my collection, my personal narrative that, sorry, I'm trying to wait. I wish more of the conscious community from others could hear these types of messages, because there's a lot of anxiety. Yeah, I appreciate that, Richie. Thank you, yeah. Bring them in. All right, so what I'm talking about today is the personality versus the true self-expression. I'm writing backwards, so it might suck. And the opportunity to kind of like bring these pieces together, and how that opportunity is extra big if you've had your ass handed to you and it wasn't safe before. However, there does seem to be a huge upside to that if that's been your experience. I don't know if that's wishful thinking at this point, to be honest. I can't tell if I just say that because it makes me feel better or if it's true, but either way, it's sort of like is. If I feel better now, there is no later, so might as well roll with it. And that's what I call the helpful doctrine. And the helpful doctrine is basically like, you can't know when you examine, and I'm all over the fucking board today. Let's take a second. When you examine the, all right, so let's say you look at the limits of the mind. It is fucking impossible to think accurately, because when you think relative to a frame. So you are either thinking relative to the frame of your personal experience. Maybe you're thinking, it's like, how do I think about this if I don't know how to think about it in something else? And when there is, I'm all excited today. It's because I made French press coffee and it is strong as fuck. So if I like rocket boost away or like start to tap dance, all right, so let's rope this in. All right, so what I'm talking about is it's basically impossible to think accurately, which is scary as fuck. Also, if you've been in a position of pain, because you're like, if I can't think to save myself, then I'm going to experience more. And so the mind gets bigger and bigger, and you cloud more and more of what's happening, and you don't see things outside of their meaning. And when you don't see things outside of your meaning, you don't really feel them, and you just kind of like harden off. And going back to I think the best example I can give is that of playing basketball. So you show up, let's say like your mind is dominant in your game. How good is your game? But if you're playing with your body, if you're playing with your heart, if you're playing sensitive and relative to what is, like how fucking good are you? And that's the opportunity I think is in life. But we have this gap to close of information where it's unsafe for us to be who we are. Why is info dangerous? Like, oh, that's a good question. Why is info dangerous? Why? Because my hair is backlit, all my fuzz is showing. All right, so why is information dangerous? Someone, I guess, could use it against you. I don't know. So I guess I need to think about that one. So what I kind of see though is this like line, this space where like here rules apply, here different rules apply. And if you keep playing with these rules on this side of the line, then you lose. And I think what happens is our confidence and our capacity to fulfill our needs is impacted by certain external situations. And so we don't trust life, or we don't trust self. And it seems like really trust in self and confidence is like the king. Like if you can develop confidence in like, well, motherfuckers, this is what's happening, and this is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I'm gonna get around it. It doesn't matter what's happening because you're not dependent on anything externally. But I think there is a blend of confidence that includes the expectation of support outside, where it's not like you versus the world. It's like the world's on your team. I'm talking all over the place today. Yeah, fear of rejection. So when we look at fear of rejection, it's like, okay, well, what is that? I think that love is outside of me, so I need to do something to get it. But you are it. That's the whole rub of this whole fucking reality, is anything we think we need to get, we are. Because ultimately, when you zoom out and you look at anything that you think you need to get, it's so that you feel some type of way. Even if it's an internal state, even if it's an internal adjustment. When I am confident, when I am this, when I am that, then I'll feel some type of way and I'll be okay to express fully as myself. But those are all feelings, and all feelings are inside. And where do feelings come from? They are from assignment. Well, they're like, I think there are feelings and there are emotions. So when I'm talking about that, I'm saying more like emotions. So it's like emotions are It's like life flows through these concepts, these definitions, these ideas, and then we feel some type of way about it. But all of the things, all of these concepts aren't real. And it's scary to not have anything to hold on to. That's your internal structure. If I'm not that, then how do I measure my worth? And if I'm not measuring my worth, then how do I prove it? If I don't prove my worth, then how will I be loved? And if I'm not loved, you know? But you are love. You are. All right. Hey, Bobby. All right. So what I was talking about today was basically this space between your personality and your unidentified. It's just like when you don't have lines around yourself, you just are. I just am. And when you look at what's so crazy too, when you zoom out and you really look at the way that the system generates a personality, because you think like, oh, it's my personality. I made this. I'm this. No, motherfucker. The system around you generated that personality, who everybody is. And this is why I never villainize, and why I've had Does that mean a lot of coffee? No, I'm peeling off my innermost filter. And apparently, I like to swear. I was just hitting my stride. Alright. Oh yeah, so I was looking at the expression, the space between who I have to be, who I think I am, and who I actually am. Who you are. What is your personality? What is that? Like, I do this. I have a hard time with that. This is challenging for me. I'm this happened, this is why I do that. Understanding is impossible in this frame of reference. Impossible. You cannot understand because your mind is limited. And so even if you max understanding in one frame of reference, the complexity and the hugeness of the system and its interconnectedness makes total understanding impossible. And so basically you can choose to come up with stories that feel good. You can choose to say, like I said earlier about the helpful doctrine, look, I don't fucking know, but this feels good. And I know that when I feel good, I'm somehow able to act in a way that I can or won't if I don't. And so I allow myself the luxury of feeling good, because I know through that gateway all else is possible. If I have closed that door because I've decided to be mean to myself or fearful of what's possible, that door closes and I'm fucking stuck. And so I always keep my feel good door open. In fact, I'm gonna write that down. All right. So when we're looking again at this concept of the personality, it's an interface, or I believe it's an interface to find safety. And it's basically like a collection of ideas that say, it's kind of like if you think about training a hamster, it's like, well, the hamster knows that if you press this button, you get coffee. And so the hamster doesn't try any other buttons. It's just like, well, I want coffee, so I'm going to press this button. So I want acceptance, so I'm going to be cute. I want people to like me, and so I'm going to bend over backwards without ever trying if there was another way to be or do. It seems very important that our individual system integrity is maintained, because we, as people who have survivor mentality is like, don't worry, motherfuckers, I'll adapt. Yes, and that is helpful to a point. If you are adapting at the expense of the integrity of your system, then you actually screw over the whole system, because you are part of the system. So if the cell health is compromised, the overall body is ultimately compromised. But in our survivor mind, it seems unsafe and frankly impossible to mind and prioritize the integrity of the individual self. But you are important. You are the world. And so when we look at what does that mean, it means a I think what I'm tracking towards, or what I would like to accomplish with myself in my life, is like this, like, it's info. It's free info. It's basically saying, like, I have no info to hide. All my info, this is my info. And like it, don't like it, etc. It's like, when you are reliant on external sources of safety or joy or love, you are hesitant because your objective is on the thing outside. How do I preserve or maintain this thing outside when the thing outside is only important to you because of the meaning that you assigned it? See what I'm saying here? Sorry. I gotta slow down. Does anyone have any questions, things they want to talk about? No, I'm just... That's my best friend. Hey. So, what I've been talking about today... Hello. If you guys aren't following Margot, please do. Alright, she's my best friend and my chief energy technician. Okay, so what I'm talking about today are it's the opportunity between closing the gap. Okay, thank you for asking. Alright, so what I'm talking about today is the opportunity that exists in closing the gap between your personality, who you think you need to be, who you think you are, and your expression that is what is present without thought. So in distinguishing thought, and this is part of why I live now, so that I can hear what I think, I imagine that there are different types, and so when I'm mentioning thought in this respect, it is thought that is designed to get something. So you are thinking in time, at a later moment, how do I get something? From someone else, how do I get something? And so thought in that respect, it's like, kind of like pinches off the awareness of, or it reinforces the misperception of separation. But when I look at if it's possible, so it's like yes and. So when I'm presenting these opportunities, it's not saying that the prior expression, the prior understanding, anything else is wrong. It's sort of saying like, yes, and you have the opportunity to, if you would like to grow into the next iteration, you have this opportunity. And it's not because you have to, it's not because right now is wrong, it's not because it's bad to identify with the person, it's not anything, it's just an option of experience that's available. And so when we're looking at what the personality does, I'm positing, if that's the right word, that it is an interface to get. And so you figure out this algorithm of getting, if I do this, this happens. If I behave like that, I get this. And it's like you're trying to avoid pain and get love. And whatever, the more fixed you are in those, the less you experience growth and therefore aliveness. And so you're probably pretty miserable or uncomfortable in your low personality shell. What's cute is that sometimes it seems like instantaneously you can transcend the personality shell if you have put yourself in a position of safety, or you intend, or it doesn't have to be. It does seem like there is some level of work in coming to integrate or accept or aware, but it also seems like you can kind of just like be like, nah, done with this. I think that probably would take some practice to get to that point, but maybe not. Each person's experience is different, and so when I'm talking through these concepts, I'm never saying like this is absolute. I'm saying I don't fucking know, but this is what I've seen. This is what I currently am experimenting with myself, and this is what has generated results somewhat reliably with the client base I work with. So the client base I work with would be a subset of the population, and that there are some characteristic crossovers. So what I discovered in that probably won't work with general population, because I'm not general pop. I don't know what general pop really is. I kind of see like there's like maybe a range of experience, and there are like extremes. I'm sort of like on the extreme side. And if you're here, you probably are too. Yes. And so we talked about the helpful doctrine earlier, which is basically like, I have discovered that the only thing I pretty much know for sure is that I don't know anything. But I have found that it is helpful to allow myself to feel good versus not, because in the space of feeling good, what I see as available as a possible option, next step, is greater and supportive of more higher steps. So generally, if I'm presented with the opportunity to choose an interpretation of events that feels good or doesn't, I choose an interpretation that feels good, because it seems like all interpretation is basically up for interpretation, and so might as well pick one you like. All right. All right. I love you guys. I know I ran on and on and on today. Okay, I love you. Bye.